Hey, hi, my name is Anthony Perrier, and if you don't know me, well, I make little silly projects, just like the Peugeot 505 that's currently behind me. So, if you don't know about this project either, it's pretty simple. It's a Peugeot 505, a big road sedan from the 80s by our manufacturer from Sochaux, and I'm simply putting a 2JZ diesel engine in it. Now, when I say that, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But actually, it's still an inline 6-cylinder with a 3-liter displacement turbocharged, which originally produces 177 horsepower, and it's from the Mercedes E-Class, W202, W210, and so on. And honestly, 180 horsepower in a 505, which originally had 70, is already huge. Except that in this case, for my little project, 177 horsepower wasn't enough. So I thought we would add a turbo, connecting rods, a pump, and everything else needed to make about 700 horsepower, which is roughly 1000 Newton meters. So it's a car I picked up that was taken out of a field and that had been sitting unused for 20 years. Despite what purists might think, I'm actually saving a beautiful 80s classic, yes. In the previous episode, what I did was get the car rolling on its new running gear. At the front we have a complete front suspension from a Nissan S13, and at the rear we have the Peugeot running gear onto which I fitted Nissan S13 hubs. The goal is to have easily interchangeable parts in case something breaks one day, so a plug-and-play setup that works right away with the brakes, wheels and so on that I want to use. That meant that the Peugeot could already roll, be pushed on wheels that were not its original wheels at all, and that were never meant to be mounted on a Peugeot. That was a big improvement given the junk we began with. And around me, you can see 3 weeks of chaos, 3 weeks of work, development and custom part creation to go a little bit further. In this episode, you'll see the wheels turning with a BMW transmission behind my Mercedes engine in my Peugeot. I'm not lying to you, it was 3 weeks of stress, tears, frustration and passion. That's what I want to share with you, it's passion. So I had to start with a transmission mount. But before that, since I'm really into tuning, we're going to start by changing the wheels and putting on the wheels we're keeping. And yes, as Anthony Perrier from the future just explained to you, since right now we're actually in the past, the 505 hasn't even been presented at Epoch Auto yet, I just received my Japanese rims. So, a huge thank you to Joe from Japan Wheels and Parts for finding me these little gems because they really are true rarities and I'm very happy with them. So also, a big thank you to Benotto who advised me on the choice of rims and I have no regrets. You don't regret anything either. Let's check it out right now. Yes, I don't know if you're ready, but I am really excited. I think it's going to look amazing on the car. Wow, damn. So what do you think, Lulu? It's exceptional. Wow. So here we have real Japanese wheels, 3-piece wheels. So 3-piece means, if you don't know, there's an outer lip that's removable, the center part of the wheel, and the inner rim section. So I think that's called a barrel, if I'm not mistaken. They're 15-inch because I literally fell in love with Benotto's Watanabe wheels on my 505 and I absolutely wanted real Japanese wheels. First because everyone was busting my balls about the Japan racing wheels, and second because it's just amazing. And these wheels, I think they're really awesome because, well, you can see it, right? They're really in their original state with dents, oxidation, you know, and that's what I wanted. I absolutely didn't want new wheels. So first, it worked out for me because the price of wheels that are a bit rough and new wheels is not the same at all. And second, well, it really matches the car, actually. Car from the 80s with wheels from the 70s or 80s, all original like the car. That was really important to me. That's crazy. Hey, how are you? Very good. I figured you needed more work, so I brought you some. By the way, the garage is usually clean, but now it's extremely clean and organized. We're meeting up at Auto HV with Vartan if you've been following the channel. Vartan, what does he do? He does everything related to car rentals, mechanics, tires. By the way, what are you available for? Tire changes, right? Tire changes? Yes. So if you want to get your tires changed here, we're in Bourg-les-Valence, don't hesitate. No, seriously, this works like crazy. It works like crazy. So once again, a huge thank you to Joe who found these rims for me. They came straight from Japan. I was lucky they were already cleared through customs and in Europe, so it was super fast to get them. But honestly, I'm absolutely in love with these rims. The big advantage of this setup, and that's why I went for it, is that they're really ugly. Their condition is absolutely terrible, and I think that's why they were still in stock in Europe. It's because no one wanted them. Honestly, if you want them on a nice car, they deserve a full restoration. Look, the aluminum is all pitted, the screws aren't very nice, the paint isn't great, and actually I think it fits really well with the look of the 505. I don't want to make it a sleeper, but I want the car to have some vibe, something that really captures the 80s. As if the car had been abandoned in a warehouse after being tuned in the 80s with an engine that, sure, isn't from the 80s, but with a real harmony between the car, the wheels, the spoiler, the things we're going to put on it, so it really matches the era of the car. So in this case, the bet really paid off. I have nothing more to say, I'm just really happy. You get it. You can imagine we're heading back to the workshop to test it now. Big thanks again to Vartan from AutoHV, who's probably here talking with customers, since this is a real garage and I'm the only one bothering him daily to do stupid stuff like this. Thanks so much, Vartan. SpongeBob transition because Anthony didn't film any shots between Vartan's place and the workshop. He's really an asshole. I think we've never been this close to finally seeing the new G7 Sport panels on the 505. The framing is crap and I can't be bothered to cut, so I'm just going to do this. Too bad for the editor. Too bad for the editor. Too bad for the editor.
I'll do it again.
Acting. Guys, we've never been this close to putting those G7 Sport panels on the 505. I'm so happy. And on top of that, Benotto's going to be really happy because tomorrow I'm taking the 406 Safari and I'm going to his place. He lives a bit far away. I don't go there every day, so I thought I might as well take the opportunity and kill two birds with one stone by returning his rims. I need to stop talking, that's it. I'll go get the jack. So, where does this go? That's another story. I'm lucky it's not rusted, so we'll just leave it under the frame rail to be safe. Then, normally with the RWVP there isn't too much play, and that makes the rats dance, it does. There we go. We won't damage Ben's rims on video, since on video we don't care and there's no proof. The trick is to go really fast so you don't hit the wheel on the calipers, but there aren't any. This is the moment of truth. In the end, it doesn't create an expensive road setup. Overall, rims and tires were at about 1,000 euros. RS Watanabe's are more like 2,000 or 3,000. It's not the same. And I think that for a small budget, careful, you have to take this with a grain of salt. I think we're really doing pretty well. But do we need the studs? They look like the same studs as these. Do my AliExpress tuning studs work or not? I think they do, but honestly they're definitely very tuner looking. Maybe a bit too much tuning, maybe we should find something a bit more discreet than these rather unsightly chrome studs, you know?
There we go. Ouch.
It's gonna look really cool, damn, but I miscalculated. Are they wider than the Watanabes or what? Either I miscalculated or there's another problem here, but there's definitely something weird going on. They're wider, maybe because the car is lifted, I'm not sure. Normally they should be 7.5 wide with an offset of about 20, but I can't recall exactly. Yeah, it's still cool. And if we lower it... No, it's perfect. I already thought the RS Watanabe looked amazing, but now, man... But the problem in the back is that we're not using competition-type coilovers at all. We're just running... Ouch! The springs and shock absorbers are stock. I have tendinitis, so it's rough. So, there's a ridiculous amount of travel. I have to jack it up for 40 minutes. It's good now. No, but honestly, it has to be said. The RS Watanabe, I think they're the most beautiful rims in the world. That's a totally subjective opinion, you know, like any opinion. But I think it's hard to do better than that if you want a Japanese look on a car. You know what I mean? Even though I admit the combo of the advanced sports tires is crazy, it's still very Japanese, right? Damn, look at that. But honestly, I'm not sure you could fit really big brakes back there.
Where are the studs? They're right here.
Damn, this is going to be insane, like seriously. You might think it looks a bit more flashy, because honestly gold and chrome are a bit less discreet than black, but for me there's really something cool about it. Show me the fit, that's what excites me a little.
Yes, there, yes.
Yeah, it's fucking perfect. I can't tell if it's wider than the RS Watanabe or not. It would be weird if it was wider. I should calculate the specs though. Not sure if I gave you the right specs, or not sure if I did my calculations correctly, but it's really beautiful, damn. It really changes the look of the car. It looks way more tuned, huh? At the same time, Gold Panna Sports, yeah, it definitely looks more tuned, but it's awesome. Hey, it's day 9873 on the 505 and today we're working on the gearbox mount. Actually, the gearbox mount is really the last thing we need so the engine can hold itself in the car, and above all, it's the last step before we really move on to the transmission. That's going to be another kind of annoying step, but anyway. You got it. I think I've already told you about it. I'm not making the gearbox mount by myself. I'm making it with, drumroll, our favorite American. Yo!
What's up, est là, qui va, et ouais.
It's the voiceover, it's not Inspector Gadget. Once again, like way too often, I have to fix Anthony's mistakes from the past. And since this scene takes place in the past of the past Anthony hadn't learned from his past mistakes. So Clayton's mic is in the wrong place and the sound isn't great. I'm annoyed. Did you bring good equipment? Yeah.
For the camera, you'll see, you're going to love it.
Dude.
My whole team is here. Here, we have 32mm tubing with notches cut out to make the mounting brackets.
No, this is amazing. There you go. So what's this fit?
We're going to line this up like this to start. We've got the brackets for yes.
Because, well, the transmission mount, like the part you had me 3D print this thing, you saw this thing in the previous episode, and actually basically everything here is that, it's the same thing, but yeah, not in plastic. Because this wasn't going to be strong enough, I think. But overall, there you go. I think you can kind of recognize the shape here.
Some secondary supports and brackets.
Let's say.
Which will be attached like this to the body. And the same, we'll be able to bolt them to the underside of the chassis. And of course, it needs to be reinforced because, well, the frame rails are 2mm thick. So here, 4mm sheet metal with holes to do plug welds overhead.
And there you go.
Holes to pass the discs through.
So basically, the idea is that we're going to show you on the car, but the frame rails go here, like this. This will be plug welded directly onto the frame rail, exactly like this. So welded on the left and right sides of the frame rail so it doesn't twist in that direction. And all along the frame rail so it doesn't move, you see, in the direction of the car. So now the plan is to lift the car and show you all of this, then we'll weld it. But man, thanks, this is awesome.
You'll see when it's installed, it's going to be better. Now that I have it in my hands, that's the idea.
Wow, man, that's not bad, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
So the goal is really to add strength over the long run, you see. So first it reinforces the body. And secondly, well, at least the gearbox mount rests on a larger area instead of just a small insert, you see. And I prefer that approach.
You would have pulled the insert out immediately, it wouldn't last.
Actually, it's not so much the weight of the gearbox that's the problem, it's the torque that's going to go through like this. You know, and you know this well, but with American cars, when they do a drag launch, you see the front of the car twisting like that. This will also help prevent the car from twisting, which is good. The goal is to connect the left and right sides of the car at the front, middle, and back. Here, we're mainly focused on the middle. Next, it's about connecting the car's front and back, especially with the roll cage. Yo, Smooth McMahon, yo, as you can see behind us, it's pitch dark. We've worked hard.
Day and night.
Wow, now you can really see the work we've done. This is really intense. So this part here and this part here will be screwed onto both frame rails. And these are exactly the pieces that will weld onto the car's original frame rails. Is it time for the test fit or what? Exactly. So, while Clayton was working on making and assembling the parts, I cleaned up the frame rails. There was very little rust.
I'm happy. The car is in great condition.
Of course, under the undercoating, a few spots were slightly affected, but otherwise it was just surface rust. I'm really happy.
We raised the nuts to screw onto them and we'll drill holes so they fit through. Ideally, that's the plan, except we'll hammer them instead.
Yes. And the measurements will also be much more precise because, of course, the two bushings here on our gearbox will line up exactly with the other mount that's still on the table. I think you get the idea. So there it was, my socket. I found my socket, man.
I'm telling you, it made it to the show.
Well, it did make it to the show, actually, on the tow truck and everything. So now the next step is to tack, secure, maybe even weld the 2 round reinforcements onto the body, and then the real work begins. This is incredible, man.
It's exactly like what you 3D printed for me. This will be installed here, but we need to move the crowbar first.
Yeah, that's the temporary long-term gearbox support. It's been there for a month and a half, but it did the job well. So yeah, the project is moving forward, and that makes me very, 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 very happy. So the next step is to put the parts in the right place with the right dimensions.
Most importantly, keep the engine mostly level.
Yeah, you need to make your shaft so it doesn't vibrate and break immediately. That's tough, almost like black magic. Plus, it rises really slowly, which is annoying. Honestly, it's crap. There, perfect. The crowbar comes out. Now we just have to be careful. We can't let the gearbox drop anymore. Otherwise someone could get hurt or worse. I don't want to be the one holding it. Alright, see you later, gearbox support. These are original BMW 330D bushings. Of course, we'll put in stiffer polyurethane ones. Wow. Man, that's beautiful. Especially since I'm not going to chicken out now. But the polyurethane ones, they're not going to fit the same way. Well, you know what? Actually, we would have installed them the other way around. You mount them on the bracket and then you snap it into the gearbox. Yeah, it's simpler. Yeah. In the end, yeah, maybe do it that way. That's awesome, man. Good job there. Honestly, it's crazy. I found a flaw. What's up? You'll have to tell me a bit, I think. Yeah, it's against the gearbox there. Yeah, what? I found a flaw. What is it? We'll have to grind it a bit, I think. Oh, yeah? It's against the gearbox there. Oh, yeah. I can grind it down, honestly. That's not what's gonna... Well, no, don't worry. Wow, look at this monkey business, guys. Awesome. Not bad, huh? Honestly, it's good job there. Like you said, you made this a bit longer than needed, but we can adjust it if needed. It fits perfectly. Did you see that? It's really nice. It's really nice, man. We won't film fitting everything onto the frame rails. We'll show you the welding and similar steps sped up, since that's not the most interesting part. The best part is when we remove the pit jack and nothing happens. That's the exciting, crazy part. You get it. Quick time lapse, let's go. Making this video doesn't make any sense anymore, and it's not even the end. He's talking about speeding up and skipping boring parts, but actually he just kept filming Clayton cutting, drilling, welding, drilling back out, recutting anyway. Music. Subtitles. Well, my friend, I want to say Clayton came, Clayton saw, Clayton conquered. No, but look at this craziness. It's just extraordinary. I really feel like it's made for this car. And actually, that's perfect because it's completely made for this car. So don't look. I screwed in a drive shaft from a Mercedes that was lying around just to see what it would look like. And it seems to be just perfect. I'm really happy. The reinforcements welded directly onto the frame rails, the gearbox mount screwed into the wood. So inside the frame rail, it's crazy. I don't think you realize how crazy this gearbox mount is, so now I think it just needs a good sandblasting or a good coat of paint. Same for the frame rail on the car. I can't leave it bare like that or it'll rust. But wow, it's amazing. The work is incredible. Clayton, thank you so much. And again, if you're interested, don't hesitate. Clay's links will be in the description. There's his Instagram. Go check out his work. It's worth it. Okay, so yes, it's great. There are new rims on the car. Awesome. We're really happy. The big problem is that if I want to see these new rims spinning with the power of the engine, there's still a bit of work to do. The problem is, well, if the 505 barely moves, it's because I'm really afraid to do that work. Because when it comes to the driveshaft differential CV joint, I don't know how to do it. Well, if you want, I've already done it before and I have 5 minutes. I can give you a hand. Who are you and why are you in my house? No kidding, this tall guy isn't an intruder, it's Nico. Hello Nico, it's a good day to film since we've already eaten together. So Nico, if you don't know him, he's a really nice guy who works on even cooler projects. Right now, for example, you're working on a replica of a Bugatti Chiron with a diesel engine. What is the gentleman saying? What is he saying? No, it's the truth. For once, it's true. I'll put the links in the description. Go check out what he does. It's completely crazy. What's it going to be? It's actually going to be a tubular chassis. Yeah, that's right. A tubular chassis, carbon fiber bodywork like the real one, but made from a 3D print. I can't add anything else. So, I really strongly encourage you to go check out what he's doing. It's completely crazy and he's doing it with a Cummins engine, the same engine as the American Dodge Ram, yeah. And basically, well, it's kind of the same. Yeah, so in theory, it's kind of the same with the smaller engine and numbers that will be half as much. But we're not going to start comparing the size of our machines today because otherwise, we'll never be done. But anyway, basically the project we're about to do, well, he's already more or less done it in the past. And anyway, no matter what, he'll have a lot more experience than me, that's for sure. No, I've already done some stupid things, you know, I'm a bit older, well, actually a lot older. And so, yeah, I actually like doing stupid things like that. And giving it, well, in the end, it's cool too. We can talk about projects you've already seen from Nico, since if you follow the U from the woodshop, the HY, you know. So I think the 505 is really about to get a serious makeover. And I think that on Friday, I want to see the car at a meet just like this. Yeah, well, we'll put the hood back on anyway. We'll put the hood back on. It looks a bit rough like this. No, but jokes aside, I think it's on. We're going to get started. So, obviously, that's going to be the first goal. So, there are several goals, let's say, and there were several ways to do it. Maybe I can lift the car to better understand what's happening. Yes, assistant, the badge. Wait, I'm looking for the button. It's a bit slow. There, that's better. And so, regarding the drive shaft and the differential, by the way, if you're wondering, that's the original differential from the donor, the E-Class E300 TD. Open differential, but that's fine to start with. And the drive shaft that's shown here under the car is also from the E-Class, which is pretty good because here we have a bearing system that lets it follow the angle of the gearbox. By the way, you should know that the Mercedes drive shaft and the BMW flex disc have the same bolt spacing, you know? That's pretty crazy. And yes, so here we're going to fix the front part, you see, so it doesn't have any angle, so you don't constantly put stress on your flex disc. We need to be as straight as possible, so we'll use levels and do our best with what we have. Don't go off in the comments. No, so we're going to fix this part here, and it's this joint here that should go down, but I'm seeing that it's going to be almost straight, actually. Yeah, it will depend on the bearing. We won't be able to put the bearing in right away because we need to place the differential first, but it could work out pretty well, actually. I think it could work out just fine. When I put the shaft from the E-Class on the Peugeot, I thought it wasn't so bad because actually we even have some extra length here, right? The differential won't be that far back, I think, although, yeah, I'm telling you, not like you. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. And on top of that, you've planned for 5, 6, 700 horsepower with torque. I don't know if the flex joints will handle the load. No, we'll make something rigid out of aluminum, I think, but actually you don't really need it. You don't need it because if you look here, the 3 screws you have here and the 3 screws you have there, normally, yeah, it works. It does. Normally. So if this part here is well fixed and straight, this one we can play with 1 or 2 centimeters. We'll see. We'll see. Already, just that. It's something I couldn't have imagined on my own. Yet it's super logical, right? But we're first going to place the differential more or less in line with the drive shafts actually in this axis here. You bought a great laser, which will really help us align everything as much as possible. So, we're going to try to make the wheel axis in this direction, and that's going to allow us to move the differential forward and backward for starters. And that way, we'll see what's going to get in our way. I think, given the spare tire, it's not necessary. Anyway, race cars don't get flats. Positioning the differential is simple. I'm not saying it's a good idea, just simple. I bought a laser at Castorama. Don't buy this laser if you want to install an axle on a car. It doesn't make a very good line. So string, hub, string, laser, at an angle, the laser, the line. Why at an angle? If you place it there, you'll see there's a problem. We're going to get close without even touching the string. That'll allow us, even if we're not precise to the millimeter here, but it'll let us really see where the axle shafts would be as straight as possible, knowing that in any case, they'll never be perfectly straight. No, with the suspension, you can't. The placement of the shaft isn't that bad, you know, just by eyeballing it like this. Yeah. Our $30 laser tells us that here it's in the middle. Yeah, I love the roughly, I swear it's... Yeah. Here, we're roughly, you know, and we can even remove our string if we don't touch our laser. We have to make sure not to touch the laser though. What does it say about the trunk? Yeah, it's too long still, huh? It's too long, but you see by removing the 2 flex discs, we gain about 4 simoles. That might even be too much, I think. Let's remove the first one for now, the one in front, because that one isn't supposed to move. Then we can leave this one here. What's the flex disc for? It's just to make it smoother when you drive it. It's to avoid jerks and to allow some angle if you need it. If you align the axle with the transmission, you don't need a flex disc. I get it. We've finally made progress on something I've avoided for 3 months. Mission number 1 for today. Take apart the flex disc using a perfectly conventional and functional method suggested by Nico from SAR Sarel Jouet. And after that, they installed the Mercedes shaft bearing to support the shaft. It's easier to support the shaft than to support... in a grand way, this damn thing, right? You need extra hands. Looks like you're there. It's good. It's... Listen, it's not bad at all. No, but it's beautiful. Well, it's a bit expensive though. Let's try not to break it. How much did I say? 61 euros. Well, at the same time, it's better to have it new than... Yes, than if it had 400 or 600,000 kilometers. But I think that one there, it's not complicated. Come on, break it. That's why you're doing it. Just put it in place. That's it. I checked. You're at 2.5 degrees. That's good. Yeah, it's just luck. Yeah, no, but it's true. I was telling Nico that when he arrived, but actually the placement of the engine, the angle of the engine, it's completely random. Well, random, yes and no. Because the front axle in itself we still measured so that the pivot would be more or less in the right place, etc. But it's just by eye. Well, it should be around there. Yeah, it's in the middle, basically. Well, wow, that's perfect. Yeah, it could work well if we remove the flex discs and make a few small changes. The outer diameter is fine at 7 meters, just cut a round shape, don't touch it. I'm telling you, I really don't feel like taking apart the front end right now. It doesn't make you want to, but... No, but anyway, I kind of suspected it earlier when I saw it, but we're screwed, you know. You have to make more room up there, you know, because your shaft is just barely fitting through. The original shaft is fixed inside a smaller tube. Here, the transmission goes through, but there's no space, so it must be opened there. Oh shit, I don't think we should keep the flex discs. Because here the axle, even if the transmission tilts a bit toward the back, twisted like this, it doesn't matter. We just adjust the axle so it's in line with the transmission. We'll set our fixed point there, and the path from it to the gearbox must be completely straight, exactly. To make the fixed point, we still have to break through up there because we can't get this through now that it's installed, and there's a big decision to make whether we cut that part there or not. Or if we just make a small spacer and cut the transmission instead. Yes, because originally it's a flex disc, it's the only thing that keeps you aligned, otherwise the rubber could move. We'll mount it rigidly with no rubber so it can't move anymore. And if, yeah, that's it, you have to break everything. No, but you see, because if you don't center your shafts, they're going to shift like this. So here, with the male-female shaft that's here, it prevents it from moving in this direction from top to bottom, from right to left. On the other hand, it's still free like this, so the flex disc can work. That's it. We don't care about that, so let's cut it. Alright, let's do that if it wobbles. Does it at least work? Yes, of course it works. What I was a bit worried about is that since you cut it a bit at an angle, crooked, you know? And then, once we've made the little shims, or once you've made the little shims later, we'll put in the screws, just to see. That will help us center it properly. Nice and straight then. At least we'll be aligned with our transmission, which is a good start. Here we are an hour later. A big thank you to Ulysses, Uzi maker, who made these little parts for us. Well, he didn't do everything. Just kidding. No, really, he didn't do everything. These are the little shims that were originally in the flex joints, which were skillfully removed with a press by our friend Nico. And then, our friend Ulysses made us these little washers, 5mm thick. Why 5? Because here, we have a groove of 2.5, 2.5 plus 2.5 equals 5. Now we have the actual pieces to test fit, which is great. We have real centering pins and rods, and this part sticks out just like on the original flex joint. Well, we can fit this onto the gearbox just to have a really straight axis that pulls toward the back of the car. I'm a bit excited because this is the first step of the second stage. Wait, what I'd like is to fit everything in at the same time. That way we're centered. To get those last few millimeters, I like what I see. Now we're going to use a wrench to make sure everything is in full contact. What is that, a 19? That's wonderful. You know, at least the flex joint won't cause a breakdown. The gearbox is more at risk. We'll need to scrape up there, but that was expected. Hahaha, that's clever. It took you half a day to do that, but it's still beautiful. No, you can't tell on video, but assembling without the flex joint took hours because we had to modify the mating surfaces and add shims since it kept getting stuck. We could have used the grinder, but the lathe was much faster and cleaner. We were sure of it, and now it's plug and play. Yes, because we knew we had 5 to do, but Ulysses made us little 4.9mm shims to make sure it fit properly, because it couldn't be too long. If it's too long and, for example, there's dirt or rust, we're a bit off. Here, even if a bit is missing, it's fine because shear isn't affected. What matters most is the diameter, not the thickness. The thickness doesn't need to be perfect, but the diameter must be exact. Okay? First step. Second step, let's continue. And the next part is going to be much more of a hassle, a real pain, because first of all, this half shaft now in its current state, since we put the little bearing back, well, we can't get it through here anymore because this part wasn't designed for it. And in any case, we need to make some space. You just want to use the grinder. No, a wood saw. We just need to check what's above. Well, there's nothing there. Will that be enough to get it through? Either way, transmission will be tough. Yes, let's do it. We have no choice. Yeah, it gives us a bit more space already. We need to cut it flush. Be careful with the handbrake cables. I'll get in there. I don't care. Maybe it'll be fine. And you can fine-tune it later, but the cables, yeah, I don't want to cut them. Yeah. Alright, normally it should fit through now, easily. You're being surgical. No, it's not. Yes, I'll do it. No. Yeah. Here, there's a conflict between the car and the shaft. Both want the same spot. It's logical, kid. Did we expect this would be a hassle? Yes, but it's really not that bad. Damn, Clayton, I know you're watching. What we did isn't so bad. The shaft is right in the middle. Doing it by eye turned out well. It's within 5,000, so it's centered, right? What do you mean within 5,000? No, that's not right. 5,000, maybe there's 5,000, but not more. Alright, it doesn't matter, it just needs to go up to the rear point, and from there that's enough. We're going to loosen this because we're going to use this spot. On this side we'll make a bracket because the front axle has a hole there. We'll put a bracket here and 2 mounts in the back. In the back we'll need to recreate a cage or something. Starting from there with some tubing, yeah, we'll attach it there. No, I think maybe we'll start from there and make a nice bracket and something really solid. Yeah, or wherever it is. The idea is we can see that it's doable, we can see that we can work on it, we can see that we can make progress, and above all, we understand the general order in which things need to happen. And honestly, we're moving forward step by step, feeling our way, but we're making progress. So now the next step is to secure the bearing, but of course there are some shapes that get in our way a bit. It's true that it's not necessarily the easiest thing. There's still a bit of cutting left to do, I think, because what's really interesting about this, and it's kind of like what you talk about in your video with the Kamine, is that the more original parts you keep, the easier it is. Yes, you want to replace the bearing if it ever breaks. You know you'll use a Mercedes bearing. You might suggest just cutting and extending the legs since it's simpler now, but that's not actually easier in the long run. It's harder because if it breaks, you'll have to redo it, which could take a whole day instead of just a few hours. The bearing is great, it's like our gearbox, which is right there. That's the idea. We'll try to fix this however we can by making do. We'll remove the shaft, and I have an idea to create space without cutting anything yet. And then, what would be good is maybe to reinforce it with a metal plate on the outside and another on the inside and sandwich the original metal in between, yes, preferably welded with TIG. That's the basic idea, but it'll evolve as things progress. We'll see how it goes, and honestly, it doesn't look bad. Right. No, that's why I'm telling you, we're not in such bad shape. Damn, this is crazy. You can let go. There's enough space for the axle. Come see where the string is compared to the drive shaft. No, it's definitely doable. Even better, we don't even have to cut the drive shaft. If anything happens, just buy a drive shaft from a 300 TD and you're set. Well, yeah, there are those little dumb mods we did and all that, but yeah, in the end, compared to cutting and balancing, I don't know if you realize how huge this progress is right now. There's basically nothing to do. So take this statement with a grain of salt, but there's basically nothing to do. That means with the car, you can buy a 505 and OM606, you buy a front axle from Estries, a drive shaft from a 300 TD, a W210, a rear axle. You just need a bit of tinkering here and there. But overall, you can keep a lot of the original parts. And that's really amazing. The magic of mechanics. Actually, sometimes mechanics isn't something you calculate, you just improvise. So my bearing being right here means it's in its place, you know? Definitely, it's only off by a few millimeters, but honestly, there's not much to do. I'm still surprised you can actually mount it to the original floor by sandwiching it. I really thought that for the bearing support, you'd have to redo a bunch of stuff like that, something complicated, you know? But logically, if your transmission is well balanced and everything, you don't have that much stress on it. No, that's true, but I guess it's well balanced since it's original. Well, and the axle will be held like here, so everything will be aligned, and so we'll sandwich it. And also, be careful, the sheet metal is really thick. We saw that when we cut it earlier. You've got 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. When it's pressed together, it'll make a nice sandwich that's strong enough. I'm amazed, guys. And let's move on to the next part. Nice job though. You'll see there will still be plenty of comments like, Anthony, don't do anything. Well, yeah, because you're a young guy full of energy. Actually, you need to do it much earlier in the process if you want to be able to install it directly. Yeah, that's what it seems like, because you see, I already need to be straightened out. Otherwise, you'll need to take it apart there and put it in, but that's a bit more tiring. That's what happened. Working was strange. You realize you're not much, huh? Nothing, just talking to your mic. Too much. Mielas. So after a few cuts with the grinder, our little bearing support is more or less in place here. It's not a masterpiece for now, but it's enough to put the drive shaft in, fit it, and present it to its dear colleague, the Differential. Maybe that's what's going to give us trouble? Damn, big cut with the grinder. That's what I started marking out right there, you see, at the end actually. And also, did you see, there are the fuel lines. Perfect. Insurance, firefighters, it's a pain, damn. Only the 30-second cut with the grinder today, we're far from plug and play, but I'll spare you this auditory horror thanks to my intervention. I'm really too good. Well, in the end that was problematic, so well, we came up with a little solution so it wouldn't be a problem anymore without setting anything on fire and without cutting the hoses, you know. Yeah, you can see a certain professionalism. It works. No, the 8th one goes back up Tada from the bridge. I can't take it anymore. I've got the little center caps. There you go, hop, hop, hop. And you have the leftovers, yes. There you go, for a tuned car, Cadillac CTS-V. Damn, I love it. I have to show this to the camera, seriously. No, but I have friends with good taste. I don't have many friends, but they have great taste. There, that's a beautiful car. Good evening, Mr. Anthony Perrier. That's the man who sold me my taxi. Come in where it's warm and see. What's happening now is extraordinary. You arrived at the right time. Hello, I'd like some nuts. Do you want just one? Yes, for now. How many bolts do you have? An assistant for bolts and nuts. What do you think? I'll take it. I'll take it. After Loris, the E63S taxi dealer arrived, they struggled a bit to attach the axle to the drive shaft. After a few minutes of effort, which I'll spare you, they managed to do it. And not thanks to Anthony. Well, I guess there's a diff. So, It's not going to stay like this normally, but there's a diff. But you see, the advantage is that now we have a joint, and now we're going to position the differential so it's as good as possible, just the way we want it. And now we have some vertical play. Damn, but it's so beautiful. Man, normally if I go all the way to the end of the gearbox... Yeah, I got it, go ahead. I think for a first half day of work, it's not bad. We solved a lot of problems. And do you know how we solved those problems? We just screwed together everything we already had. We adapted everything so it could be screwed together. That's really it. No, but on paper, we just screwed things together. And that's actually pretty great, you know? It's working pretty well. We didn't have to modify the transmission. We're doing pretty well. In the order we talked about, we started from the gearbox. We straightened everything up all the way to the axle. Now we'll be able to place the axle properly so it's just right without effort or stress. Secure it well with a mount, whatever is needed. And then we'll be able to make it support however we want, actually. We're pretty free at this point. Because here, I'll show you one last time. The little red line from the laser, that's the hub axis, without any modification. Look where it lands. Honestly, it's spot on. It's made for this. Careful, the transmission, don't forget, there's a little slip joint. We used that slider, we used the slider. We don't have the flex discs anymore, so we've gained 6 centimeters in length. We shorten it like that, yeah? You're still using original Mercedes parts. It's crazy, it's easy really. And it's thanks to the magic of editing that we find ourselves here the next day without you needing to sleep to see the rest of the video. That's really wonderful. Honestly, it's great. We're working on the axle support design with our friend Nico, who's still here and slept well. I'm feeling better now. I slept with the dog. Well, of course, as soon as he finds warmth and love, that's it for him. Okay, so we found the screws. Are they the original ones? Well, I'm not sure, but at least it gives us a starting point to work from. The axle has lined up its end of the driveline. The gearbox has lined up its end of the driveline. So in the end, everything is lined up. Now what we're interested in is making a support here. So I was thinking of starting from here on this, but what I didn't really like is that it's way too far back. And then Anthony didn't want to. Well, it's still the spare wheel support. Yeah, but you've got 2mm sheet metal, you know. Yeah, sure. It's still pretty sturdy though. But then we'll try to create a much more thought out welded assembly. Yeah, refined and Instagrammable. We need to make money with this. I think we'll make some little columns here. Put a small piece of 30mm tube like this here. And start from this 30mm tube to go straight up. And we'll attach that here with a 5mm plate welded onto the shell, and we'll bolt ourselves on both sides of this 5mm plate. So in this case, it won't move at all. No, it won't move. We'll reuse the original mount bolts. So we'll make a plate, and then here we'll come down, and then we'll screw in here, and that's it. Yeah, that works. So basically, that's probably how it'll end up. We're heading back to Ulysses, right Uzumika, to make some bushings to better wedge the small 30x30 tube. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but the back of the diff is slightly bulged. Be careful, I sneezed on it. I'm allergic to idiots, and since I've been here, I've sneezed a lot. The filler neck. Damn, we're going to have to move. Here, I'll set the bracket down for you. There you go, that's good. Wait. I'm unplugging the gauge. The gauge. There we go. And a bit more diesel, kids. That'll go into the Defender. Do we have more room to work? Now we're good. We'll cut out this part up to here. Doesn't matter. It's about having a bit of space and putting our support across this and that. Excellent. Okay, I'm gonna cut all this out now, clean it up a bit up there, and that's it. Alright, so what is he doing, Nico? I get it, I like it, notcher. It's called a notcher. So the notcher is usually a milling bit you put there instead of the hole saw, but it's a notcher. It lets us do, it's a notcher with what we have on hand. But this thing is awesome because you can slide it. Wow, that's amazing, I want that. Not expensive, right? Not expensive. No, well, I guess not. So I modified it afterwards and I hope I'll make a video about it. Because since I have a lot of tubes to make for my project, I had exactly that. Yeah, cut here, it got stuck there, it bent here, yeah. So I made myself a machine to do that. That way you don't need the drill because when you're cutting something big, it can take your foot with it. For what I need to do, something like this would really help me out a lot, honestly. Yeah, it lets you do that. Yeah, damn, it's awesome. And what will that be used for? You haven't seen this yet. These are the sockets Ulysses machined this morning. Uzi Mekar. It's still too long and not cut yet. I get it. It's awesome. In the end, it looks really clean. Because actually, I have 40 cyclogies. So we asked Ulysses for 40 sockets, which makes it perfect. Otherwise, besides that, you see, it's already way past noon. It's going to be about 3 o'clock. Aren't you a little hungry? A little bit, yeah? I'll make you something to eat. Just something quick then. Something quick. And by the way, it's the perfect time to tell you about today's sponsor, which is none other than HelloFresh. And if you don't know how HelloFresh works, basically, they send you menus, little meals. For example, we're about to make a one-pot orzo with chicken, herbes de Provence, spinach, and fresh cheese. I'm really happy. Usually, they send you baskets filled with fresh, high-quality ingredients and include a recipe with everything you need. The back shows how to prepare it. It's a nice subscription service. And then you can get something for a day, a week, or a month, however you want, with little veggie options, etc. Here, I wanted to make something easy that everyone can enjoy. Let's go. Well, I think it's not too bad. I'll just need to add the little almonds and flakes to the plates. Then it'll be done. Anyway, if you're interested, don't hesitate to try HelloFresh. You can reconnect with forgotten feelings because for me, it's been a long time since I cooked like this. Don't forget, use code ANTONIECADO for a great deal and a real gift. With your HelloFresh subscription, choose a free dessert, starter, or anything you want for life. Alright, back to work. Alright, so as for the axle work, it's underway. I need to cut some pipes that are over there. Now Nico suggested something interesting to me to cut the axle shafts. First, thank you so much to the person who provided me with the Nissan S13 drive shafts. We're going to need them because, as I mentioned, at the back we have Nissan S13 hubs mounted on some beautiful spacers that were actually machined by my dear friend Ulysses, so that's really cool. And a huge thank you to Chatrax who found me some original drive shafts from a Mercedes E-Class, exactly the same drive shafts I had on my Mercedes. The problem was they were so seized up that I just couldn't get them out at all. The scrap metal guy came by, it had to go really fast, so well, I lost my drive shafts. Another little thing, Ulysses once again made us some adapters. Yeah, so wait, let's show that. It's in the little box right there. We went to pick them up this morning, that's right. So you'll see one side is bigger than the other. Why is one side bigger than the other, Nico? Well, because one axle shaft is smaller than the other. Exactly. You should know that the diameter of the Mercedes is 25 and the diameter of the Nissan is 28.5. All that to say, a huge thank you to Chatrax for these little axle shafts. If you need spare parts, the link's in the description. It's a huge auto salvage yard. You probably know if you follow this or Nico's channel. They're a major supplier for our spare junk. When you're trying to make toys like this, making everything from nothing, you kind of have to have partners like that. Just on this car alone, there are already a lot of things that come from Chatrax. So yeah, a huge thank you to them. Big shout out, big hugs. All that to say, well, this little 1000-watt cutter is actually going to be useful. Yeah, it's ready to go. So I'm just cutting randomly because we're cutting it longer. Yeah, I'm just removing the part I don't need for now. We join the two parts, mark the center, cut the ends, reassemble, and we're done. It looks really sturdy. Wow, this must be solid and treated, right? To avoid mechanical issues. Wow, well, let's hope for the best. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Very good. Sturdy. Anyway, guys, as you can see, we're cutting the axle shafts here. I'm not going to film all four. And then, well, it's assembly time. You need to have the right length. Okay, drive shaft cut. Mercedes Nissan ring. Damn. Wait, is it the same on the other side? Damn. Oh. Man, it's beautiful. Sorry, but this is exceptional. Plus, it fits perfectly. This side fits better than the other, which has some play. Oh, yeah. He might need to brush it a bit, but it's a little mushroomed, but it'll work. Honestly, we've never been this close to the goal. Now I'm starting to feel happy. Here. I'm going to take a mallet because you have to make sure it's fully hammered in. Can't you give it a little hit with the impact wrench? Well, if you have the socket, go ahead, yeah. It's better that way. 35, 36, let's see. At a certain time, it was very often 36. I know that because you're from that era. Maybe?
Just about.
We'll be there, you know, we'll wait to set the welded axle so it's nice and straight in the right place, you know. And then we'll take care of cutting the drive shafts for good, because even a few millimeters off can be a pain. Logically, we fix the axle first and then we take care of the drive shafts. So guys, what's going on here? It means our buddy Nico has prepared the little 5mm thick plates for us to weld under the 505. You hate it when I say that, huh? It's true, right? So now the goal is to tack the thing in place, see a bit where we can, you'll understand. Is there a specific spot or not yet? Well, actually, there's more or less a specific spot because the two holes have to be centered with respect to this, approximately. We talked about it. Estimating will be tough, though. You blow from there while I hold here? Yeah, it's fine. I'm tacking it in place. Magnifico. In front, on the other side now diagonally. There, yeah. You make small tack welds all over so it holds. And that's it. What happened? A good hour. And now, miracle, the axle sits on its own mount. It's not very pretty yet. These aren't the final screws. We put in some shims. Nothing is final. It's just temporarily held in place. Then we'll make proper weld beads on the workbench. It will be much better and we can weld all the way around for a great result. But now, overall, we're starting to get a pretty final idea of what the axle mount will look like. So I was thinking if I ever feel vibrations when starting the engine, etc. Since there are no bushings, maybe it could be interesting to put bushings instead of these two bolts that are in the body and then cut these tubes according to the size of the bushings. I think that could be a good alternative if it ever vibrates, but if you put bushings there too, you might allow for some movement. Yeah. Also, there's still a support to make in the front. So here, it's only the rear of the axle. But remember, here there's this hole that allows us to put a through bolt. And here we have the 3 bolts that would allow us to attach to this cross member. So I think a lot of people will say that this isn't necessarily the best way. The way we're mounting the axle seems really good to me. We'll need to test it. If it doesn't work when we're driving with 700 horsepower, we'll deal with it then, but I think it'll be fine. The wheels still aren't turning though. The wheels still aren't turning. They're on Wi-Fi for now. And honestly, you could have 700 horsepower coming out of the axle, but the car still won't move because, well, we still have this little issue here. So now the idea is to find the right length at which to cut our 2 bars so we can fit them inside this little spacer that was made for us earlier. I think I summed up the situation well. Absolutely. Anyway, once again, this is just temporary, so to speak. It's just to get the right measurements. And then, once my drive shafts are welded and we're sure everything works, I think I'll take my 2 axle shafts to a driveline specialist. I'll tell him to make a one-piece axle shaft, Nissan on one side and Mercedes on the other, and the correct measurement. Because I still think that, in terms of length, we'll have a left axle shaft and a right axle shaft no matter what, since you can see that the 2 differential flanges aren't exactly centered in relation to the car. You see, if I stand here, it'll make more sense for you. This axle shaft here will be a bit longer than that one. So yeah, all of this is a bit of work. But when things move forward, I have to admit it's pretty satisfying. So now, yeah, it's going to be making a little mark, making a small cut, welding the spacer. I'll film that for you in slow motion. I know you love those nice shots. And this time you'll be deprived of nice shots because this Nikon camera is about as good at focusing as Anthony is at mechanics. It's as blurry as the future of this poor 505. I can reassure you by saying that the main camera will be back soon. However, Anthony will still be here. Well, I cut everything. It was a real pain in the ass. You could have warned me it was such a pain. When I did it earlier, it was annoying too. Huh? And now it's the magical moment of official prototyping. Damn, this is turning me on so much. Ouch, yeah, half hard. And now we're really close to the truth, right? So wait, it's at full droop. Yeah, it's at full droop right now. Once the car has new shock absorbers, it won't be like this. We also need to weld it like this, and when we lift it, it's compressed. There you go. As I said, we're not actually gonna drive on the Nürburgring like this, but in theory, we almost could. I'm tired but happy. Why? You saw the previous scene where I did a few tack welds, Mr. Nico. So wait, I see something phenomenal here. Wait, let me show you. Go ahead, Mr. Nico. Damn! Ouch, yeah. No, but look at them. They're wiggling on their own. They're happy. It's free. That doesn't count. So we just have a little problem with the bearings. Maybe a spacer or something is missing. Because when we tighten the center fasteners, the wheels get stuck. And it's true that it's a bit annoying, but now they're tightened just right. And there. So yeah, it's really cool, so it's a temporary setup, and I'm really happy. Temporary, why? Because this is temporary V1, then comes temporary V2, which will probably stay on the car for a good while. That's how it usually works. Anyway, Nico, I'm really happy with the work we've done here, because honestly, we've gotten a lot done, right? Yeah, it felt like things weren't moving very fast. Because we have to do things in sequences and plan everything so it all fits together, and then we have to prototype prototypes, plus we're putting together things that weren't meant to be assembled together, so we had to do some testing, but still, not far off, because the Mercedes driveshaft hasn't met the angle grinder. Yeah, that's right, it's on the Peugeot. We had a sliding part, well, you saw the video, everything was explained clearly, that's awesome. Nico, a big thank you, you're welcome. Once again, the links are in the description. Check out his work. This is just a small sample compared to what he does at home. We have to admit it. Nico, I hope we see each other again soon. I think we'll see each other soon since there's still some work left on the car and I believe we'll manage. I'll keep making progress on the car. And unfortunately, I kind of made a promise in a story a few weeks ago where I said the car had to start in this video. I'm kind of kicking myself for it, but it has to start. You'll manage, but on your own. So guys, let's go. Well, a huge thank you to Nico for coming all the way from the Paris region to give us a hand with the 505. I'm really happy about it. You can hear it in my voice. In the meantime, I caught a cold, but it's no big deal. Let's do a little debrief. So, on this damn Peugeot 505, what did we do? We adapted the drivetrain to the engine in the car, and that's really cool. So basically, it goes engine, engine mount, gearbox, gearbox mount, driveshaft, differential, differential mount. So of course, except for the engine mount and gearbox mount, everything we've done behind, in terms of the transmission, is temporary. In fact, this is not the final setup at all. You saw the few little welds. The few small 30 by 30 tubes welded onto the body and the floor, especially in the trunk area. It's temporary. In the next episodes, I hope we'll have time to make the roll cage and all that stuff. There, the tubes and reinforcements keep everything together, making the car strong and in one solid piece. Because the 505, I think we already said it when we did the transmission, but originally, well, it's like chewing gum. And the only thing that holds the axle and the engine together is the transmission. It's a transaxle, exactly like on the Porsche 944 that's over there at the back of the garage. Yeah, I have a Porsche 944 too, and actually, we might take care of it this year. I'd like that. But anyway, it's all in one piece. You've got a kind of super thick steel tube. The tube that connects the rear differential to the gearbox might be almost 10 millimeters thick, and all that means it's all in one piece. And that also helps with the rigidity of the car. In this case, well, all that's gone now. So it's up to us to reinforce this thing. Damn. And honestly, the more time passes, the more I find the car beautiful. At first, the gold rims with the chrome lip, I thought it looked really weird. But actually, I'm a huge fan. The more time passes, the more I look at the car, the more I think it really has that awesome 70s, 80s look. Look at this insane fitment we're putting together here. It's really crazy. Anyway, all that to say that now that's all well and good. We have a drivetrain that's turning, driven by the gearbox. Let's be honest, the ultimate luxury in this episode would be for the transmission to be driven by the engine. Let's say it. Let's do it. So, it's very simple. I'll take you with me and I'll explain a little bit how all this mess works. First step, remove the kangaroo steam intake connector. And I'll explain a bit how this thing works. The injection pump. This is the injection pump. Here, on these so-called recent models of the OM606, you can find an electromechanical injection pump of the EDC type. So, I'm really not an expert in injection at all, so don't expect a crazy lesson or biblical illustrations at the bottom of this video because you won't get any. All I can tell you is that it's basically a mechanical injection pump that's electronically controlled. That means it's controlled with solenoids, solenoid valves, and an ECU, and we don't want the EDC pump. Why? Because even with a stock pump, we're limited. It doesn't make enough horsepower for what we want to do. We want a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque. So, the best thing is to rebuild the pump, to remove the parts inside, the little pistons, and replace them with pistons that can deliver a lot more diesel at once. Because with a diesel, it's simple. You want more power, you add more diesel. But if you add more diesel, you get too rich. So what do? You add more air. But the problem is at some point you end up with too much air. So what do? You add more diesel, and so on. But as you've probably guessed, we don't want the EDC pump controlled by the computer, but be careful, it's not that it's a bad pump. There are guys who do builds with EDC pumps and it works very well. I don't know exactly what the power limit is that you can reach with an EDC pump. But in any case, I'm just not interested in keeping an electronic pump. I want a pump that's 100% mechanical. Why do that? Well, first of all, to be more period correct with the 505, which originally with the Peugeot engine had a pump that was 100% mechanical. And especially for the simplicity of the setup. Because yes, with this kind of engine, you can get really high power just like you want without any electronics. That means to start the car, once we've replaced the pump, we'll just need a little bit of diesel to go into the mechanical pump. But it handles that on its own thanks to the lift pump. It's a kind of small suction pump that does directly in your car's tank, and that's it. So no need for an electric pump, at least for now, as long as we're not going for big power. Once you reach a certain power level, you need an electric pump at the back. Here, since we just want to start the car to see the wheels turn with this Mercedes engine in this Peugeot, and we also just need a starter, the starter will go here. Basically, you just need to supply 12 volts.
On the starter, it's great.
Because yes, back in the days of our dads, our granddads, and our great-granddads, there were no computers. Everything was done with little 10mm wrenches and little socket wrenches, you know? They aimed to boost their carriage by 20 more horsepower since it was easier. To convert an OM606 with a PDC pump to a mechanical pump, there are several tricks. First, you get a mechanical OM606 pump, because yeah, the OM606 also originally came with a mechanical pump. But those pumps aren't great, so you either switch to an OM603 pump, that's the generation just before the OM606, still an inline 6-cylinder, 3 liters of displacement, but it's a slightly older version. You could find those especially in the W124. So that's the previous generation of the E-Class, and in my case, I wanted to work with a diesel expert, a great diesel specialist who's based in Bulgaria, and he told me, man, you have to get an RS203, it's the best pump imaginable for an OM606. So, well, I bought a Bosch RS203, I bought it in France on Le Bon Coin, and then I sent it to him in Bulgaria, then he did a lot of things to it, and he sent it back to me. I'm really not good with mechanical pumps, I don't understand anything, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now, I just have some basic knowledge. But that knowledge is probably not enough to explain it to you properly. All I can tell you is that he replaced the original parts of this pump with 7 and 7.5 elements, and apparently, according to him, that's enough on this particular pump model to make a lot of power. So here, the goal is to install this pump on the car without too many explanations. Because there are a lot of really good tutorials on YouTube, and I don't want to explain it wrong to you. Let's go. Small problem during disassembly. Well, for now it's okay. There's only one problem. I took apart everything that was there. The accessory belt tensioner, the vacuum pump. So now we have access here to the injection pump pulley. Be very careful, it's a reverse thread. I watched a great tutorial by DPUK that explains to us that this is a reverse thread. I imagine there are a lot of people who try to loosen this the normal way, but actually that's the wrong way since it's a reverse thread. You break the bolt because it's purposely weakened in the middle to protect your pump. In this case, everything worked out fine. You need to loosen the clamps here on top of the injectors to remove the diesel hoses that go to the pump. Nothing is stuck, I'm lucky except for the very last one. This clearly isn't the usual shape of the diesel hose going to the pump, right? I straightened it here because actually the clamp is completely stuck on the injector, so when I turn the clamp by its holes, the whole injector comes with it. So later, I'll try to straighten the hose properly, but for now it's going pretty well. Every time I use the time-lapse camera, it's pretty cool. Right now the timing is set, at least on the engine side. So now I'm ready to remove the injection pump from the engine. I say the timing is done because actually the engine timing is set before removing the original pump. Why? Well, simply because here on the side of the pump you have this kind of little cap. And inside this little cap you should see a sort of small pin in the pump. There, boom. Here, a little arrow, you can see a shiny edge. And this shiny edge indicates that the pump is in the correct position, that it's actually at its top dead center. That's basically it. This little marker here, you see it goes around the pump, and as soon as it lines up with the hole, top dead center. But then, you also have to make sure you're properly aligned here. You should know that originally I can't see anything there. Well, it's really complicated to film this for you. So I invite you to check out the tutorial by DPUK, which is really excellent on YouTube. So the link will be in the description. I didn't get anything from him, I admit. I was thinking about getting something from him. But in the end, well, with Brexit and everything, it turned out to be much more expensive to order from DPUK in France anyway. So that's why I ordered from Unchef, and for now I'm very happy with the equipment I received. So well, we'll see how it goes later. But for now, I can't really explain it to you. But now, that means I can remove the original pump, but I can't install the new pump. Why can't I? Chronopost. Well, it's not heavy actually. It's fine. And there you go. The pump is out, the pump is out, the pump is here. And I'm really happy. It really wasn't that complicated. You see, I was making a big deal out of it. The system is really well designed. I thought you had to remove the timing chain to get the pump out, but that's not true. The pulley stays in place, but it's actually loose and moves around in the housing. It's held in place by I don't know what kind of magic. Well, actually by the housing in the end. So it's really well designed. Your chain doesn't come off. Nothing comes off. Then you just retime your pump after that. Done. So that's cool. So this pump is out. My crankshaft is set exactly at -10 degrees. Why -10? Honestly, I have no idea. But Mr. Unchef told me that's how it should be done. It's not easy to see because the lift pump is in front, but it says 10 ATDC, That means 10 degrees after top dead center. So I just do what the man says. He tells me to do it, I do it. I don't ask questions. So, we can put the new pump in. The problem is here, with the timing. Because actually, you see, when you remove the little cap like I showed you on the other pump, I can't really show you here. And you see, I'm not lined up at all. I don't even know where I am on this pump, that's the problem. So now, we need to turn the pump shaft to get our little edge here, so we can set the pump correctly. And then, the tool I'm missing is one that you screw in here, which is used to lock the pump. That way, we can put it in the car safely. I've already tried setting the pump in the right spot with pliers, and it works, but at top dead center, it's such a sensitive point that it can suddenly turn. That doesn't really help us. So once again, I'm stuck today. I'm waiting for my Chronopost package to set up the pump, so it'll have to wait until tomorrow. There's still some work on the car, installing the pump and checking a few oil fittings. Because obviously, to start the engine, even for a few seconds, I'm going to put oil in it. And the goal is to make sure the oil doesn't spill on the ground. So turbo oil fitting. Because, well, that's important. And oil filter fitting. That's important too. I'll explain all that to you when we get there. Well, now that we've cleared up the issue with this pump a bit, we're going to have to wait 24 hours for the Chronopost delivery guy to feel like delivering to me. That's it. I don't care anymore. I'm just letting off steam. Chronopost? Post? Well, no, but it pisses me off. It's just that I paid extra to get my injection pump timing pin quickly on Tuesday. Well, now it's Tuesday and I don't have my pin. The delivery man wrote, yes, I called and he told me to drop it off at the pickup point tomorrow. Well, no, I wouldn't have paid 10 bucks extra to get it today if I'd told you to do that. Nobody called me. So basically, I'm going to do what needs to be done to move forward, which means lifting the car, taking out the gearbox, and installing the new flywheel and the ceramic clutch. Because yes, of course, when the little snail back there starts blowing, I'll need a clutch that's able to handle the torque, right? Because, well, believe it or not, an OM606 with 700 horsepower, I think we're above 1000 Newton meters, so I went to Kangaroo Steam and got it from them. A solid billet flywheel assembly. Well, yes, of course, since we're not using the original gearbox for the engine at all, so we had to fill the gap between the engine's crankshaft and, at the front, the gearbox input shaft that's going to fit in there. So it's super heavy. It's stainless steel, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and on top of that, there's a Sage Performance clutch that's supposed to handle 1000 Newton meters of torque. Well, a little less, 900 and some change. So we'll see if that's enough. Then, if that's not enough, we'll switch to an even more aggressive system. But right now, this already seems pretty intense to me. So now the goal is to put in the engine mount so the engine doesn't fall over. Remove the transmission and make the 2 or 3 adjustments we discussed with Nico earlier so it fits perfectly. Drop the gearbox, install the flywheel on the engine, put the gearbox back on, install the new pump, start it up, go for a drive, go get some bread, you know, just the usual stuff. And bam, that's done. I put in a mount from an unknown brand, so now we can remove the gearbox without the engine ending up on the ground. Because that would be a problem, right? Especially now that there's a bit of work to do. So, to do that, you see, it's the little mount we made with Clayton. It's screwed directly onto the cylinder head. That won't move, my friend. And since I know you want to see lots of details, I'll show you lots of details. Now I'm going to lift the car. To lift the car. Now that I've lifted the car, I need to think about what I should do first. I just set up the camera and the first thing I see is that there's oil there. So I need to take care of that first. No, it's much bigger than I thought. All that to say, I would have liked to drop the gearbox first, put on the flywheel and put everything back together, but we have to finish the gearbox mount that we started with Nico but haven't finished yet. It's just tacked at the back and front with nothing securing the differential. And since it's just tacked and I don't want to weld everything perfectly right now, well, at least we need to bolt the front of the axle. Right now, the drive shaft is holding the front of the axle, but I need to remove it. If I do, I'm not sure what will happen to the axle. It might not do much, but just in case, I'd rather, you know, there you go. So in itself, it's not super complicated. You see here on the axle, there's this thing that's an integral part of the axle, and above it, right here, there are 3 bolts sticking out. From the crossmember, where I can attach a bracket that will screw in there, honestly, I have absolutely no desire to film this for you, nobody cares. So I'll make it and show you what it looks like in 2 hours. It's the next day. It took me a long time to make this bracket, but here's how it looks. I'm really happy with it, and I reused the original axle bracket. You see, I cut off a little tab from it, and then using some square tubing 2 millimeters thick, I made this little protrusion that screws in right here. So now I'm putting in a screw I found in my box of Peugeot screws. And normally, more or less, yeah, it fits into my bracket. I can screw it in, and that makes me really happy because it means that from now on, we'll be able to remove the drive shaft, to take out the gearbox. And that also makes me really happy. Then once it's installed, well, it looks like this. Let me tell you, it looks really clean, it's really stylish. I'm really happy with the results, seriously. So basically, this part will stay fixed here, this part will stay fixed here. Anyway, all of this is temporary, but I'll explain it to you at the end of the video because right now we still have a lot of work to do with the drive shaft. So let's get to work. I'll take out the drive shaft and then I can take out the gearbox. Alright, so I started loosening the screws, and the trick is not to get hit by all of them. And now, normally, I should be able to get it out of my axle. Well, your screw. Okay, and now normally with that slip joint there, it should be able to come out. Alright, I can leave this half shaft here. It's fine, it won't get in the way. Now this one, I'm removing the last screw. And now normally I can remove my last shaft. My little pins, they stay in place. It's really good for dropping the gearbox. Well, this is cool because actually I think it's going to be super easy to drop the gearbox. Because since we worked really well with the wrench, I just have to remove the 4 bolts from the gearbox mount. That way I don't have to deal with any hassle afterward for realignment or anything. Just remove the few bolts I put in. Normally there are 4. One at the top, one here, and another at the top. The gearbox just drops, so it's very easy. Glass in fake, zap, 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 zap. Gearbox down, flywheel on gearbox. So that's good. Next, I started loosening the 2 bolts at the top. They're a bit annoying to reach from here through the inside of the car, so now normally I grab my little ratchet. I remove 1 too tight bolts and 2 bolts that aren't too tight, and I drop the gearbox. Beautiful. So you'll need to remember that you'll have to make a tunnel that's wide enough to loosen the bolts. Right now it's easy because there's no tunnel at all. I'm inside the cabin. There we go, 1 bolt. The second one should be reachable from here. Second bolt. Milwaukee electric ratchet. Ever since I got this tool, I swear I only use this. And now normally I don't even have to struggle. And that's satisfying. Now 2 small 13mm bolts on the starter side, and normally it comes out. There we go. There's still some strain on the gearbox. I place my support pretty far back. I don't think so. Yeah, damn, the supports aren't tightened. Anthony is going to end up hurting himself there. We'll at least tighten it for now. I think I placed my gearbox mount too far forward, so the weight is more at the back. We'll see how it goes. I hope it doesn't come crashing down. It might fall apart, but it's fine. Yeah, it's going to fall apart, that's the problem. Well, it's coming down, that's a good thing. Okay, yeah, I put the gearbox way too far back. You need to come help me, I'm going to hurt myself here, I'm going to try to lift it. And with your foot, you need to push the support that's on the ground toward me. But isn't that going to bother you?
Yes.
Go ahead, push with your foot. There, okay, that's good. There, I'll go gently, it's going down like that. You're not holding it anymore, that's perfect. Now I know you really have to put the support much farther back on the gearbox. Well, the weight is there, you know, it's not there. Which means that now we can put a nice flywheel on our engine, and that's really cool. Thanks, wife. And so once the gearbox is removed, this is what it looks like. There's no flywheel, we only have what's called a flex plate, which is only used to start the engine. Screws, the starter will be here and it will spin this flex plate. And then we'll remove the 8 original bolts from the flex plate to screw in our new billet flywheel. And by the way, well, it's pretty cool because Kangaroo gives you brand new bolts, which is great since you need longer bolts, so they provide them and that's really cool. And they also provide you, of course, with the bolts to install your clutch. Here we have a clutch, if I'm not mistaken, that's an unsprung ceramic clutch. The drive shafts are really going to love that. Normally there are 4 small springs in your clutch, but here there's nothing, so driving will be interesting. I also saw a small bearing in the flywheel center. I don't know if it's like that on the BMW, but in any case I think it's really cool because the bearing will allow us to perfectly center the gearbox. On top of that, well, it reduces the strain a bit in the gearbox since the shaft is also supported at the end, so listen, let's get started. So, the problem now is that the engine isn't locked in place. I just turned it 10 degrees after TDC, but I didn't use a locking pin. That means I can turn it with the impact wrench. So, I'll have to be careful to double check the timing is really spot on afterwards. Because right now, I could actually throw off the engine timing just with this. And so, when I put the pump back on, well, both of them might not be in sync anymore. Okay.
What makes you say that?
Okay.
That's definitely not ordinary.
So now you have to remove all the screws and make sure the flex plate doesn't fall. Because, well, it's gonna stay there. I just want to put the flywheel on top. That's cool. I really love mechanics. Okay, There's something I don't understand here. We can't keep the original screws, but this one doesn't fit. You see, we agree that we can't keep the original screws because they would be way too short. I'm adding these spacers. Well, you get it. So they provided these, which have the same thread as those screws, but these screws don't fit in the holes. What the hell is this? I don't get it. Here. The technical team of the Anthony Perrier Corporation invites you to please wait while we try to resolve this issue. All agents are online. Thank you for farting. We meet again 6 hours later. You really need to understand that I really like you and I'm not doing this for the money. I do this for the pleasure of sharing well-made content. I posted a message on Instagram. By the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, anthony.pdlv, where I asked if anyone had bolts for the flywheel, it's M10 by 40. The length is measured under the head with an extremely fine 1mm thread pitch, meaning just 1mm between threads, which is very small. Basically, the bolts look like this, and I managed to find some. That's thanks to Benjamin Workshop, who sent me to DST in Department 74. I don't remember the exact name, but basically it's right next to Annecy and they have a huge selection of fasteners. This isn't sponsored, but I just know that. Finding bolts can be tough, but they really helped me out, so here's a quick shout out. And on top of that, I bought all the fasteners I needed for the small spaces I started making for the Jaguar XJ40, which I'll talk to you about in an upcoming video. This isn't my car, I'm just working on it along with other things. Since I was there and they had so many bolts, I took what I needed. Anyway, now, thanks to these fasteners that cost me a whole day, 400 kilometers round trip and a third of my tank of diesel, we'll be able to install the flywheel size and weight. We're supposed to tighten it to 80 Newton meters with thread locker, but I'll just tighten it now. I'll start the car at idle without driving, so I won't use thread locker. Since, anyway, we're going to take it apart again because at some point we'll have to open the engine so the little pin is all the way at the top, so I need to put it in this way. That should be pretty good. I'm going to tap it a bit with a mallet to make sure it goes in properly. A little Milwaukee mallet. Well, once it's tight, I'll take care of the rest. Yeah, it's so exciting. Next, it's time to install the clutch and pressure plate. There's a specific way it goes, and what's pretty funny with this Sage Performance is that on one side it says gear side. Well, cool, that's the side that goes toward the gearbox, and on the other side it also says gear side. So, logically, the side where the rivets are visible is this side here. Because the gearbox has more space than the flywheel side, though this one has space on both. Still, we'll set it up this way. Next, what you need to do is avoid getting your greasy fingers on the pads here. Man, I'm so bad at mechanics, damn, I don't know what I'm doing. Here's my mallet. Because for some reason I can't figure out, the pressure plate has a hard time fitting onto the pins, so you do this and it fits onto the pins. There you go. Next, you take the screws provided and screw them in wherever you can. Normally they should line up. It looks like they're lining up. After that, you put in all the screws, and before tightening them, you need to make sure the clutch disc is properly centered in the pressure plate. And to do that, there's a tool. Well, I don't have the tool. Once the clutch is in place and the screws are loosely tightened, it looks like this. And actually, what you need to do is make sure that everything inside there is aligned, because otherwise, when you want to fit your gearbox, it won't go in straight all the way to the bearing. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna have to count on sheer dumb luck a bit here. That's because I don't have the tool. So, we're just gonna tighten it like this. What a mess. I'm filming this little shot with the iPhone just to sneak in a bit. Flywheel, clutch, everything is screwed in, everything is installed for good. So, I wanted to put the gearbox in place to see how it would fit, and well, it fits really well. The only problem is this. I put the starter back here on the Mercedes engine, and you can see that the end of the starter actually hits the BMW gearbox. So, I'm going to make some small holes, modify the gearbox, and it'll work. And there you go, a nice little window. Well, this isn't the cleanest thing I've ever done in my life, but technically it's supposed to do the job. You see the little dome on the starter will fit right there and it'll be perfect. After all that good news, our man Anthony felt like he had wings and muscles, and he wanted to put the gearbox back on by himself. As the voiceover, I decided to step in to spare you. Luckily for Anthony, Anthony isn't alone. And when Anthony isn't alone, it works. He brought me a taco, so I just asked him to help me naturally.
Normal.
That moves, it's dangerous. Okay, he has to. Impossible to push it in any further. Like, it's kind of rough and ready. Okay. Well, you're kind of the wedge right in front. Well, I think that before it almost goes in. Yeah, damn, you're right, the pin is almost in. Because you do the same, you move it and I move it almost. Yeah, it goes in, I like it there. Yeah, it goes in. Well then, by tightening at the top, it'll go in. Magnificent. Well done. Now we just have to tighten it, I think. There you go. Now it won't go in by itself anymore. Yes, it was it. The honor is yours. This is so great. Well, thank you very much. You can go home. Hey, that's it. Thank you so much, Vartan, for coming by last night to help me put back together all that gearbox mess that was really heavy in the end. I just finished reinstalling everything for the transmission, driveshaft, axle, and tightened all the parts. So now, technically, we have a crankshaft that's connected to our 2 rear wheels. I've got my timing pin, I've set the pump, we can put the pump on the engine. Honestly, all I want right now is to start the car, really. So be careful, like I said earlier, this video is not at all a tutorial on how to time a pump or how to install a mechanical pump from an OM606 on an OM606. There are great videos that do it really well on YouTube. I follow those videos and I'm doing the same thing here. I won't give you any advice because I don't know what I'm doing, okay? Just watch me do it. If it starts, you're happy, you leave a comment saying, "Bravo, Anthony, it starts, I'm so proud of you." And if it doesn't start, it'll start in the next episode. Right now, I've got 1,500 bucks in my hands, so I've set the pump. There's not even enough space on top of that. Why didn't I take off the bumper first? And this thing is super heavy. What is this idiot doing? Now, you turn the pump. What's blocking, damn it? I didn't take off the bracket, damn. There you go, that's it. I'll set you down for a minute. I need a disc to remove this bracket since on mechanical pumps, the pump bracket is different. Okay, either we'll have to modify this bracket later once the pump is installed or find a mechanical pump bracket like a kickstand or something. Now we can put the pump in. Okay, so I'm putting it in place, in the pulley hole. I'm bearing the weight here with my finger in the pulley. There we go, and there you have it. There, the screws, they fit, so now I can let go and it holds. Yeah, that's good. So now my pump is installed, it's timed. Next is the break-off bolt. Well, not exactly self-breaking, but you know what I mean. Damn, it's not catching many threads. Yes? There you tighten by loosening. Not too hard, be careful. Are these different screws or what's going on here? Wait, I don't want to break anything, so I'll lift it up. It's just spinning freely. Damn, these aren't the same screws. So is it a different thread, like those camshafts from TU5J4, JP4, T5G4, GP4? Different screws. Wait, let me check. Okay, it's fine. Actually, I tightened the screw, no problem. I was just scared. So I preferred to wait, look, think, and try again. And actually, no, I just shouldn't have hesitated. I just needed to screw it in properly. Because actually, the little washer that's there is a spring washer that gets compressed. It's normal, actually, so that's why it didn't feel tight. I didn't understand. But it's just that it needed time for the washer to reach the bottom and be fully pressed in. Now that the pump is installed, I checked the timing. So, the pump was still properly aligned, it didn't move. The little mark was still in the middle. Basically, you see here, on the side of the pump, there's a little hole, and actually in the middle of that little hole, you see there's this tab here. And that's what lets us know the TDC of the pump. You turn your engine, you turn your pump. And when the little tab is exactly in the middle of that hole, that's when the pump is at TDC. And then you set that TDC, which you lock with the little pin at this angle here. So it's not easy in this direction, but we're supposed to set it to -10. Here, the engine turned a little, we're at -11. -11 is good for engines that have a lot of miles on them. In this case, it doesn't matter at all. It's still going to start. It doesn't change anything. But when I do the final assembly, I'll make sure to keep my engine at 10 degrees after top dead center. So there you go, all that to say I have 2 or 3 little adjustments to make, then I'll put everything back together and get back to you in a little while. And boom, a few hours later we end up with a fully operational diesel circuit. Let me explain what I did. As you can see, the new injection pump is installed. So we have our mechanical injection pump from the OM603 installed and timed. You see, I even put the vacuum pump back on, it's perfect. So now the injection is ready, I also connected all my little hoses. Here, on the side of the pump, we have the lift pump, the diesel is sucked in here, it's pushed out there, it goes up through this hose and enters the diesel filter. It's filtered and then goes back into our injection pump. It's distributed to the 6 injectors. Boom, it goes over there, the returns, the stuff. Anyway, everything is connected except for this. This is our diesel return line that will have to go back into our temporary fuel can. Since today, I'm not going to reinstall the tank that we removed with Nico. The goal is simply to do a test run. So, well, I'm going to take a jerry can full of diesel. I'll put both hoses in it and it'll work just fine. So the diesel part is okay. The engine is, in quotes, ready to start. Now, we're just missing the most important thing, I'd say, the lubrication system, which means that here, on the side of our engine, we have, you recognized it, the oil filter mount. Except that to access this thing, you need to put fittings here in these two small openings. Unfortunately, I accidentally threw away the original hoses that went there and were connected to the radiator to cool the oil. So, a few days ago, Ulysses from Uzumeka26 made these beautiful parts based on my measurements. On one side, they allow you to put an AN10 fitting to go to my future oil cooler, and on the other side, a small O-ring to fit in there. So all that's left is to install this here. And the problem is that Ulysses did his job very well, but I didn't at all. I gave him completely wrong measurements in the sense that this part is way too long, and as a result, I'm afraid it won't be sealed and I won't be able to start the car. So now, roughly speaking, there are several solutions. Ask Ulysses to machine this thing for me again, knowing that it's Saturday and the video comes out tomorrow, or find another solution. I have to admit, I'm getting discouraged because I didn't expect this. I've had these parts for 4 or 5 days. I had 4 or 5 days to test it, show it to him, give it to him, and ask him to shorten it by 5 millimeters, but I didn't. I didn't do it because I was so focused on the car's transmission that I forgot to test those parts. We'll find another solution. Imagine an ideal world where a miracle solution exists, and all of this just 24 hours before the video. Even if such a solution existed, we're talking about Anthony. So, obviously, this isn't the only problem that's preventing the car from starting. I'm going to start it. Unfortunately, I just found a second problem that doesn't make me very happy, and it's right here. The oil fitting on our magnificent S369 Turbo. Well, sometimes things get forgotten. Unfortunately, Autotech Turbo forgot to provide us when they packed the turbo with the little oil fitting. Because since it's a turbo with a ceramic ball bearing, we can't just send oil directly into the housing and say, here, take the oil, lubricate yourself. No, it's a ball bearing turbo, so it needs a microscopic stream of oil. So basically, on our little oil inlet fitting, we're supposed to have a 0.9 mmir hole if we're using 10 something oil, or a 0.8 mmir hole if we're using 5W something oil. I don't have anything and I don't want to break my turbo, so yeah, I could start my car without the turbo, but honestly it really bothers me to start this beautiful engine without its turbo. And anyway, since my oil fitting over there is messed up, I'm pretty annoyed. Honestly, I'm starting to feel a bit discouraged. And I'm wondering if it's really worth it to keep busting my ass trying to get the car started. Will it start? Am I going to break something? Am I rushing things too much? So now I'm just doing whatever. I don't know. I don't want to make a mistake. I really don't want to make a mistake. You might not realize it, but I've literally been working on this car for 3 weeks, working on this video, doing nothing else, eating 505, drinking 505, sleeping 505. And I really wanted to start the car for this video to finish on something really cool. But I'm starting to realize I might not be able to. Yeah, no, I'm really sorry for ending this episode a bit unexpectedly, but I think it's going to build up a bit of suspense for the next episode of the 505 where the car will start and move. So that's my little challenge. The goal is for me to be able to drive this car around. I'm really looking forward to it. I already have a million ideas for the pedals and so on. Anyway, you'll see all that in the next episode. It's going to be great. But I also wanted to thank today's sponsor, which was none other than HelloFresh. And yes, it's a bit different. Good food, good cooking, it's always really nice. So, if you also want to join the HelloFresh adventure, don't forget to use the code AnthonyCado, which will get you portions per person for less than €3 and, most importantly, an incredible lifetime offer, meaning free desserts, appetizers, or a snack. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, a little comment to tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you'd like to see in the next episode. Sending you big hugs, and I'll see you very soon on YouTube.